The spear of sacrifice, the battlefield was broken and burning. Smoke rose into the sky like dark clouds. The sound of machines and screams echoed across the ruins. Humans and aliens had fought for hours, and the ground was covered with blood and metal. In this chaos, one man kept moving forward. His uniform was torn, his body hurt, but his spirit was not broken. He was a human soldier, tired but alive. His eyes searched the ground as he walked through fire and shadow. He was not looking for enemies anymore. He was only looking for a reason to keep going. That was when he saw her. At first he thought it was only another body. But then he stopped. His heart skipped a beat. It was not a dead soldier. It was a girl. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly under the broken moonlight. Her hair was silver, tangled with dust, and in the center of her chest, a spear was buried deep. He froze. His first thought was that she was the enemy. His second thought was to walk away. She was not his kind. She did not belong to his world. But then he saw her face. Her eyes were closed, her lips trembling. She was alive but fading. There was no anger in her face, only fear, only pain. Something moved in him, something stronger than fear or hate. He stepped closer. He knelt beside her. His hand reached out to the spear. Her lips moved weakly. Her voice was soft, like a broken melody. "Don't touch it," she whispered. He hesitated. His hand stopped for a moment. But his heart had already chosen. He could not leave her like this. Not when she was suffering. Not when he still had the strength to help. With a deep breath, he gripped the shaft of the spear. The metal was cold, yet it burned against his skin. It felt alive, heavy with something dark. His muscles trembled. His heart pounded. With one final pull, he ripped the spear from her chest. The moment the weapon left her body, her back arched. A scream ripped from her throat. Her wound began to close, glowing with strange light. And then it was gone. Her heart beat strong, her breathing steady. She was alive, but the pain did not vanish. It shifted. His body jerked violently. A burning pain tore through his chest. His vision blurred. Blood spilled from his skin. He staggered back, gasping. His knees hit the ground. The girl opened her eyes, wide and shining. She touched her chest in disbelief. There was no wound, no blood. Her heart was whole. But when she looked at him, she saw the truth. The wound had passed to him. He was the one bleeding now. His breath came in short gasps. His body shook, yet his lips curled into a weak smile. "You're alive," he whispered. His voice was faint but full of relief. She stared at him, confusion filling her mind. Why would he do this? He was her enemy. Humans were called monsters, destroyers, but this one, he had given his life for hers. He had taken her death into his own body. The battlefield still roared around them. Fire burned, weapons clashed, explosions shook the earth. But for a moment, everything was silent. For a moment, there was only him and her. He knelt there bleeding, yet he did not look afraid. His eyes met hers, calm and steady. In that look she saw something she never believed before. She saw truth, she saw sacrifice, she saw humanity. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her throat was dry. Her heart beat faster. She did not understand why this human had saved her. She only knew one thing: he had given her a chance to live. And now he was dying in her place. The transfer of pain, the human soldier's body trembled as blood ran down his chest. His breath was sharp and uneven. Each heartbeat felt like a hammer striking inside him. The spear that once lived in her body had chosen him instead. It was as if her death had moved into his flesh. The alien girl stared at him with wide eyes, her hands pressed against her own chest where no wound remained. She could feel her heart beating strong, but his life was slipping away with every drop of blood. She whispered, "Why? Why would you do this?" Her voice shook like fragile glass. He tried to laugh but only coughed. His blood stained the dirt. "Because," he said slowly, "no one should die like that, not even you." His eyes were tired, but the light in them had not gone out. The girl's heart twisted. She had been told all her life that humans were cruel. that they destroyed worlds without care, that they would never risk themselves for another race. Yet this man had given his body for hers without hesitation. The image shattered everything she believed. The ground shook violently as another explosion hit nearby. The battle was not over. The smoke grew thicker. The screams louder. She looked. Around, enemy soldiers were drawing closer, searching through the ruins. If they found them, both of them would die. Her mind raced. She had little strength left, but she could move now. She reached out and pulled him up. His weight was heavy. His blood soaked her arms. He stumbled but did not resist. His eyes locked on her face, confused. "Why are you helping me?" he asked, his voice low. She hesitated. The answer was not clear. Maybe it was because she owed him her life. Maybe it was because she could not let him fall when he had already given so much. Finally she whispered, "Because your pain is mine now." They moved slowly through the burning ruins. Each step was a struggle. He bled. She trembled. But together they kept going. Behind them, shadows grew larger, soldiers with weapons, searching for survivors. The girl guided him through broken walls and shattered streets. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the smoke. Her breath was quick. Her hands gripped him tight. She could feel his weakness spreading. She could hear his heart slowing. At last, they collapsed inside the ruins of a destroyed building. The walls were cracked, the roof half gone, but it gave them cover for the moment. She laid him gently against a broken pillar. His face was pale, his lips dry. He smiled weakly. "You should leave me here," he whispered. "They'll come, and you'll die too." Her hands clenched into fists. Her voice shook but carried strength. "No," she said. "You saved me. Now I save you." She looked at his wound. It pulsed with strange energy. It was not only human blood. It was something more like a curse that tied their lives together. The spear had not been an ordinary weapon. It was ancient, forged with alien magic, built to carry death from one body to another. She understood now. He had not just taken her wound. He had taken her destiny. Her fingers touched his skin. The heat burned her hand. The pain almost jumped into her veins. She felt it crawling toward her heart. She pulled her hand away with a gasp, her eyes wide. She realized she could share the burden. She could take back some of his pain. The soldier looked at her with tired eyes. "Don't," he whispered. "If you touch it, it will break you too." She shook her head. "Then let it break me," she said. Her voice was firm. "I will not watch you die for me." She placed her hands firmly over his wound again. Her body shook as the pain ripped into her. Her veins burned. Her skin turned pale. For a moment her chest throbbed as if the spear was piercing her again. But then the pain spread between them, not fully hers, not fully his. It was shared, balanced. The soldier gasped as the pressure inside him eased. His eyes opened wider. His breathing steadied. He could feel her strength flowing into him, and his pain flowing into her. They were bound, two lives connected by one wound. She fell against him, trembling. Her forehead rested against his shoulder, her voice weak but steady. "We survived together now." He looked at her, stunned. He wanted to argue, to push her away, but he could not. He saw her face, pale yet strong, determined yet gentle. She had chosen to carry his suffering, and that choice tied them closer than blood. Outside, footsteps echoed. Soldiers were coming closer. Shadows passed the cracks of the ruined walls. Time was running out. He pushed himself up despite the pain. He reached for his weapon, his body weak, but his will burning. The girl lifted her head. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She whispered, "Then let us fight together." For the first time, the human soldier and the alien girl stood side by side, wounded, broken, but bound by sacrifice. The spear had given them both pain, but in that pain was a bond neither side of the war had ever known. And as the enemy drew near, both of them prepared to bleed for each other. The ruined building shook as heavy footsteps came closer. The enemy soldiers were searching. Their voices carried through the smoke and broken walls. The human soldier pressed his back against the cracked stone, his weapon tight in. His hands, his chest burned with pain, his blood still fresh, but his eyes were sharp beside him. The alien girl leaned against the wall. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the darkness. Her breath came quick. Her hands still trembled from sharing his wound, yet she did not step back. She stood close, her eyes fixed on the shadows moving outside. The soldier whispered, "They're hunting us." His voice was low. "We have to move before they find us." She nodded, but worry filled her eyes. He was weak, his movements slow. If he tried to fight alone, he would not last long. She tightened her grip on his arm. "We move together," she said firmly. The soldier almost smiled, even in pain. Her words carried strength, and for a moment he forgot she was supposed to be the enemy. She was his ally now, bound to him by blood and sacrifice. The sound of boots grew louder. The shadows of soldiers passed the broken cracks of the wall. A beam of light swept across the ruins. The soldier held his breath. His finger rested on the trigger, his muscles tense. The girl placed her hand over his, stopping him. She shook her head. Her lips formed the words without sound. "Not yet." They waited as the light moved past. The soldiers muttered to each other, and then the footsteps drifted away. For a moment, silence returned. The soldier exhaled slowly. He wiped blood from his chest, but more kept flowing. He leaned against the wall, his strength fading. The girl watched him carefully, her heart clenched at his condition. Without him, she would be dead, and now his life slipped away for her sake. She pulled his arm around her shoulders. "Come," she said. "We must leave now, together." They moved through the ruins, broken wall by broken wall. Their path was dangerous. Every shadow carried risk. Every sound of battle reminded them death was close. The soldier stumbled often, his weight heavy, but the girl did not let him fall. She carried him as much as he carried her. The night sky above burned with fire. Ships clashed in the heavens. Beams of light struck the earth, shaking the ground. The war had no mercy, no pause, in that storm of destruction. They were only two small lives trying to escape. The soldier whispered, "Why save me?" His voice weak but curious. "You could have left. You would be free." Her steps slowed. She looked at him. Her eyes glowed with strange light. "Because you bled for me," she said softly. "Because now we are the same." Her words sank deep into him. He had never expected kindness from an enemy, yet here she was, carrying him through fire and death. He felt something stirring in his chest, something stronger than pain. They reached the edge of the ruins. Beyond it stretched a dark forest, thick with shadows. The soldier frowned. "We'll be hunted there too." The girl shook her head. "Yes," she whispered, "but trees hide better than fire." Before they could move, a sharp sound cut the air. A beam of light struck the wall near them. Stone exploded into shards. The soldiers had found them. "Run," the soldier growled. He lifted his weapon and fired. His bullets flashed through the smoke, cutting down one of the enemies. But his body shook violently, his vision blurred. He nearly collapsed. The girl grabbed him, pulling him back. "No," she shouted. "We run together." She dragged him into the forest. Their footsteps pounded against the dirt. Behind them, voices shouted. Beams of light lit up the trees. The chase had begun. Branches whipped their faces, the ground uneven. The soldier stumbled again. His blood left a trail behind them. His body was failing. He knew it. She knew it. Still, he kept moving. The girl whispered words in her own language, ancient and soft. She was praying not to gods, but to fate, begging for just one more chance. Her grip on him tightened. She refused to let him fall. The forest grew darker, thicker. The sounds of the battle faded behind them, but the hunters followed. Their lights cut through the trees. Their shouts grew louder. The soldier leaned heavily against her. "If they catch us," he said, his breath rough, "don't waste yourself on me. Run. Save yourself." She stopped suddenly, turning to face him. Her eyes shone with fire. "No," she said, her voice sharp. "I told you, your pain is mine. We survive or we fall together." The soldier stared at her, stunned by her words. In that moment he realized she was not just saving him out of debt. She had chosen this. She had chosen him. The forest echoed with the sound of hunters, but the bond between them burned brighter than fear. They were no longer human and alien, no longer enemies. They were two lives bound by one sacrifice, and together. Bleeding and breathless, they kept running deeper into the night. Asterisk the bond. The forest swallowed them whole. The burning battlefield was far behind. Yet the echoes of war still shook the sky. The human soldier leaned heavily against the alien girl, his steps slow, his breath shallow. Blood still dripped from his wound, staining the leaves under their feet. The girl guided him deeper, her glowing eyes scanned the shadows. Every branch, every sound carried danger. She knew the hunters would not stop. They had seen too much. They were both targets now, finally. They reached a small clearing where a fallen tree created a shelter. She pulled him down gently. He collapsed against the trunk, his face pale, his chest rising weakly. She pressed her hands over his wound again. But no matter how hard she tried, the blood returned. Tears burned her eyes. She whispered, "I don't understand. Why does it stay? Why does it not heal like mine?" His voice was weak, but he forced a smile. "Because it wasn't meant to heal," he said. "It was meant to kill." She froze. Her heart twisted at his words. He had carried her death into his body, and there was no way to remove it. He had chosen this path without knowing the price. Her hands shook as she pulled them away. She could still feel the strange energy of the wound. It pulsed like a curse, alive and cruel. It was not just blood. It was a chain binding him to her. He looked at her with tired eyes. "You should leave," he whispered. "You've got your life back. You don't owe me anything." Her chest tightened. Anger rose inside her. She grabbed his hand, gripping it hard. "Don't say that," she snapped. "You don't understand. I was raised to hate you, to fear humans. They told me you were beasts, but when I saw you take that spear for me, everything I believed broke apart." He blinked. Surprised by the fire in her voice, she leaned closer. Her eyes glowed brighter. "I cannot leave you. You gave me your life. Now it is mine too." Silence filled the clearing, broken only by the sound of his slow breathing. The bond between them had grown stronger with every word. It was no longer only about survival. It was something deeper. The soldier's chest hurt, but he managed. A small laugh. "Strange," he said softly. "I thought I'd die fighting your kind. Not bleeding for one." Her lips trembled. For a moment she almost smiled, but then her expression hardened. She looked into his eyes and said, "If you die, I die too, not by the spear. Not by curse, but by choice." His breath caught. He could see her resolve. Her words were not empty. She meant them, and for the first time, he felt something he had forgotten in the war hope. A rustle in the trees broke the silence. The girl snapped her head toward the sound. Her instincts sharp, she pushed him gently back into the shadow of the fallen tree. She crouched low, her glowing eyes scanning the forest. Two enemy soldiers passed through the clearing, their weapons raised, their voices low but sharp. They searched for tracks, searched for blood. The girl's heart raced. She held her breath. Her hand rested on the dagger strapped to her side. The soldier reached weakly for his weapon, but she pressed his hand down. Shaking her head, her eyes told him, "Trust me." She waited as the soldiers moved closer, closer, her muscles tensed like a predator. Then, with one swift motion, she struck. She leapt from the shadows, her dagger slashing across the throat of the first soldier before he could even scream. The second turned in shock, but she moved like lightning. Her blade sank deep, and he fell without a sound. The soldier stared at her, shocked. He had not expected such power from someone who had nearly died minutes before. She returned to him, her face calm but her hands trembling, her silver hair stained with drops of blood. "You saved me again," he whispered. She shook her head. Kneeling beside him, "No," she said softly. "We saved each other. For the First time since the spear, he believed it. Their bond was no longer fragile. It was strong, forged by blood, tested by battle. She rested beside him under the fallen tree. The forest quiet around them. Her head leaned against his shoulder, his breathing slow but steady. For a moment, the war felt far away in the silence. She whispered words she had never spoken to anyone before. "What is your name?" He blinked, his lips curved faintly. "Daniel," he said, his voice weak but steady. "And yours?" She hesitated. Her name felt heavy, sacred. But then she whispered, "Lyra." Their names hung in the air like a promise. They were no longer just human and alien. They were Daniel and Lyra, and in that moment, their bond became unbreakable. The chase the forest did not rest. The night was alive with the sound of footsteps, shouts, and beams of light cutting through the darkness. The hunters had found their trail again. Daniel's blood had betrayed them. It painted a path across the leaves and soil, leading straight to their hiding place. Lyra's sharp ears caught the sound first. She rose from Daniel's side, her glowing eyes narrowing. "They're coming," she whispered. Her voice was calm, but her heart pounded. Like a drum, she could not let them find him. Not after all he had given. Daniel struggled to stand, his chest still bleeding, his body weak, yet he pushed himself up with sheer will. "Then we run," he said through clenched teeth. His voice cracked, but his spirit was unbroken. Lyra caught his arm quickly, steadying him. "You can barely move," she said. "If we fight here, you'll die." Daniel gave her a faint smile. "If we stay here, we both die," he answered. "At least if we move, we have a chance." His stubbornness sparked something inside her. She hated his pain, yet admired his strength. She nodded once, pulled his arm around her shoulders, and together they left the safety of the fallen tree. The chase had begun again. The forest stretched endlessly before them. Shadows twisted, branches clawed, and roots threatened to trip their every step. Behind them, voices shouted. The enemy spread out, their search closing in. Daniel stumbled, often, each step slower than the last. Lyra carried more of his weight. Her body strained, but she refused to stop. She whispered, "Hold on, Daniel. I won't let them take you." His lips curled into a tired grin. "Funny," he murmured. "I thought I was supposed to protect you, despite the fear around them." Lyra's chest warmed. For a moment, she almost forgot the war, almost forgot the hunters. There was only him and the bond they shared. But the forest did not forgive. A sudden flash of light seared the trees ahead. An enemy patrol had circled around, trapping them. Lyra froze, her breath sharp. Daniel lifted his weapon weakly, but his hands shook. His body could barely hold the weight. The soldiers raised their weapons, shouting in their harsh language. The beams of their rifles lit the trees like fire. Lyra acted before fear could break her. She pulled Daniel behind a fallen log and returned fire with his weapon. Her shots were clumsy, the recoil strong, but she aimed with rage and desperation. One soldier fell, another stumbled back. The rest fired wildly, burning holes through the forest. Daniel forced himself up, his vision blurring. He gritted his teeth and fired beside her. His shots were weaker, slower, but his spirit pushed him forward. The forest lit with gunfire. Branches cracked, smoke burned the air. The hunters pressed harder, step by step. Lyra's dagger gleamed in her hand. She charged forward like a storm, striking one soldier down before they could fire. Another swung his weapon, but she moved faster. Her blade cut deep. Her movements were sharp, deadly, but her heart screamed with fear for Daniel. Behind her, she heard him cry out. A bullet grazed his shoulder. He fell against the log, clutching his wound. Blood poured again, her chest clenched. The bond between them screamed with his pain. She almost felt it as her own. "No!" she shouted, her voice breaking. She ran back, dragging him up once more, his weight heavy, his breath shallow, his eyes still burned with fire, though his body betrayed him. Together they stumbled deeper into the trees. Every step was pain. every breath was fear. The enemy shouted behind them, their voices growing louder. The chase did not end, it only grew. Finally the trees thinned, and they reached a river cutting through the forest. The water rushed fast and dark. Lyra's eyes darted across the bank. There was no bridge, no path, only the rushing current. Daniel collapsed to his knees, gasping. "Go," he whispered. His voice cracked. "Cross it, leave me. They'll catch us both if you stay." Lyra grabbed his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. Her eyes glowed fiercely. "I told you before," she said. "Your pain is mine. Your fight is mine. I will never leave you." Without hesitation, she pulled him into the water. The river swallowed them both. Cold waves crashed against their bodies, dragging them downstream. Behind them, soldiers shouted. But the current carried Daniel and Lyra out of sight. The water tore at them, spinning them, dragging them under. Lyra fought to keep his head above the surface. Her arms burned, her lungs screamed. Daniel drifted in her grip, his eyes half closed, his strength fading. But she held him tight, whispering through the storm of water, "Stay with me, Daniel, stay alive." The river pulled them farther from the hunters, deeper into the unknown, and though danger still waited ahead, their bond only grew stronger. They were no longer just running from death. They were running towards something greater. Together, they would face whatever came next. The choice the river threw them against rocks and broken branches. The current pulled them down again and again, but Lyra refused to let go. Her arms locked around Daniel. Her body fought the water with every ounce of strength. Finally, the current spat them onto the muddy riverbank. They collapsed together, coughing, gasping, their bodies trembling. Daniel lay on the ground, blood mixing with the river water. His chest wound burned brighter, the curse growing stronger. Lyra pressed her hands against it, but it would not stop. The magic of the spear fed on his life. Her eyes filled with tears. She could feel the connection through the bond. Every wave of pain that cut through him struck her heart too. She could not let this continue. She would not watch him fade away. Daniel forced his eyes open, his voice weak but steady. "Lyra," he whispered, "you have to go. Leave me. If they catch us, you'll die too." Lyra shook her head fiercely. Her silver hair clung to her wet face. Her eyes glowed brighter. "I won't leave," she said. "Stop asking me to abandon you." "I will not." He gave her a faint smile, his lips pale. "You're stubborn," he murmured. "I like that." But his breathing grew worse. His body trembled. The bond between them screamed with his suffering. She could feel it pulling her down. She knew soon he would not survive, unless she did something. She remembered the moment when she touched his wound and felt part of the pain flow into her. The magic was not complete. It was not just a curse. It was a bridge. It allowed pain, strength, even life to move between them. Her hands shook, her heart raced. There was one choice left. She could take all of it back. She could carry the wound once more. But if she did, it would kill her. She stared at him, her chest heavy with fear. Was she ready to die for him? He had been ready to die for her without hesitation. Could she do the same? Daniel looked at her, his eyes heavy but gentle. He saw the truth in her face. He understood her choice before she even spoke. "No," he whispered. "Don't do it. If you take it back, you'll die. I won't let you." Her hands pressed harder against his chest. Her tears fell onto his skin. "You don't get to choose this alone," she said. Her voice broke, but her will did not. "You saved me. You gave me your life. Now I give you mine." The bond flared between them. Energy surged. Daniel gasped as warmth flooded through his body. His wound stopped bleeding. His chest filled with breath again. The curse shifted, crawling back into her. Her body convulsed with the pain. Her skin turned pale. Blood spilled from her lips. He grabbed her shoulders in shock. "Stop," he begged. "Lyra, stop." His eyes burned with desperation. He could not let her do this, not after everything. But she smiled faintly through the agony, her voice weak but clear. "Now we are even." Daniel's heart tore apart. He had been ready to die for her. But now she was dying for him. It was a cycle of sacrifice, a chain that bound them too tightly. He shook his head violently. No, I won't let you go. His hands pressed against her wound. His own will fought against the magic. He pushed back with everything inside him. He poured his strength into her. He refused to accept her death. The bond twisted violently, power surging back and forth between them. It was no longer her pain or his. It was both, shared, balanced. The curse could not settle. It could not claim one life without touching the other. Both of them collapsed together, their bodies shaking, their blood mixing in the mud, their breaths ragged but still alive. The bond had forced them into a new path. Neither could take the full pain alone. They could only carry it together. Daniel looked into her glowing eyes, his voice shaking. We don't choose who dies anymore. We choose to live together, no matter the cost. Lyra's tears fell, but her lips curved into a trembling smile. Then that is our choice, she whispered. Together. The forest around them grew quiet for a moment, as if the world itself paused to hear their vow. But in the distance, the sound of soldiers returned. Voices shouted. Lights cut through the trees once more. The hunters had not stopped. Their chase was not over. Daniel pushed himself up slowly, helping Lyra to her feet, his body still weak, her chest still burning, yet both stood taller than before, bound not by pain alone, but by choice. The bond had nearly broken them apart, but instead it had made them stronger, and as the enemy closed in, Daniel and Lyra prepared for the fight that would decide not just their survival, but the meaning of their sacrifice. The legacy of blood. The forest burned with light as enemy soldiers closed in. Their shouts echoed through the trees. Beams of rifles slicing through the darkness. Daniel and Lyra stood together, weak and broken, yet unyielding. Their bond pulsed. Between them, a fire neither death nor pain could extinguish. Daniel lifted his weapon. His arm shook, his chest ached, but his eyes blazed with resolve. Lyra stood beside him, her dagger gleaming, her silver hair falling across her pale face. They were bound not just by a curse, but by choice. The first soldiers broke through the trees, their weapons raised, their orders sharp. Daniel fired. The recoil nearly tore him down, but Lyra steadied him. Her blade flashed in the firelight, striking down an enemy who charged too close. They fought not as two, but as one. The bond fueled them. Every strike, every breath was shared. When Daniel faltered, Lyra pushed him forward. When Lyra staggered, Daniel held her steady. Pain rippled between them, but it only made them stronger. Yet the enemy was endless. For every soldier that fell, more arrived. Step by step, the circle closed. Daniel's weapon clicked empty. He dropped it, grabbing a fallen rifle from the ground. Blood soaked his hands, his vision blurred. Lyra cried out as a beam grazed her shoulder. The wound bled, and Daniel felt the pain through the bond as if it was his own. He roared and fired back, his shots wild but filled with fury. Still, the hunters pressed closer. Their numbers were too great. Daniel knew the truth. This battle they could not win, not with strength, not with weapons, only with sacrifice. He turned to Lyra, his voice rough. There's only one way now. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. She shook her head fiercely. No, don't say it. But he stepped closer, pressing his forehead to hers, his voice soft, filled with sorrow and fire. If one of us falls, the other carries the bond. If both of us try to live, the curse will keep tearing us apart. Her tears fell hot. Her hands clutched his face. Then let it tear us apart, she whispered. I won't live without you. Daniel, the soldiers shouted. Advancing, Daniel's mind raced. He remembered the spear. He remembered the moment he ripped it from her chest. He remembered her eyes opening with life. He had taken her death once. He could do it again. He made his choice with a sudden burst of strength. Daniel grabbed her wrists and pressed her hands back against his chest. The wound flared, magic burned, the curse surged. His body convulsed as it swallowed him whole. "No," Lyra screamed. She tried to pull away, but he held her tight, his eyes locked on hers. "Live," he whispered, "for both of us." The bond exploded with light. The soldiers froze, shielding their eyes. A wave of energy burst from Daniel's body, throwing them back. The forest shook with power. For a moment, the night became fire. When the light faded, Daniel collapsed, his chest still, his body unmoving. The wound gone, the curse gone. He had taken it fully into himself, ending it forever. Lyra fell to her knees beside him, her hands shaking as they touched his face. His skin was cold, her heart shattered. Her voice broke as she cried his name. "Daniel." The soldiers staggered back, afraid. The power of the bond had struck fear into them. None dared to approach. They whispered to each other. And then, one by one, they fled into the forest, leaving her alone with him. Tears streamed down her face. She pressed her forehead against his, whispering, "You bled for me, you gave me life, and now I carry you in mine." The bond had not vanished. She could still feel a faint warmth inside her chest. His spirit had not died completely. It lived within her, carried in the blood they had shared. She rose slowly, her body trembling, her heart heavy. She carried his weapon across her back. She carried his name in her soul. Lyra walked deeper into the forest, away from the battlefield, away from the war. Daniel's sacrifice burned in her memory. It was more than death. It was a message. Humans were not monsters. They were capable of love, of sacrifice, of bleeding for others. And though his body was gone, his legacy lived through her. Every step she took, every breath she drew. She carried the bond of blood, the bond of sacrifice, the legacy of Daniel, the human who chose to bleed for her life.